The parable of the Good Samaritan is probably the most well-known parable within the Gospels. It almost kind of transcends Christianity itself. We even hear in popular culture people say, oh, he was like a good Samaritan, or we should be more like the Good Samaritan. There are even laws in certain states that are named after this parable, Good Samaritan laws. And it can be so easy to just kind of cast the parable aside. We know it so well, we can finish it by heart. It's about this man who sees someone in need and he helps him, he takes care of him, and we should look after the poor and those less fortunate than us, which is true. That's a good and true thing, but there is so much more in this passage that Jesus wants to tell us, wants to show us. And whenever we hear one of the parables within the gospel, there's always one question that we should be asking ourselves. And that question is, where is Jesus? Because in every single one of his parables that he tells, he is one of the characters. He's very intentional about that. And sometimes it can be a little tricky to find him. And the parable of the Good Samaritan is one of those. Where is he? Which character is he? How do we figure it out? But he is always there, somewhere, waiting to be found. And in order to find him within this parable, we actually have to take a step back and look at the Gospel of Luke as a whole. Because one of Luke's major themes within his gospel is the city of Jerusalem is kind of the nucleus, the center of his entire narrative. And for the entirety of his ministry, Jesus is journeying towards Jerusalem. We are told even at one point in Luke that Jesus had his eyes fixed on Jerusalem. He is very much a man who is on a mission. He knows where he is going. And so the way that he teaches, the way that he preaches, every single parable that he tells, there's this common theme of someone who is on a journey, someone who is on kind of like a road. So we think of the parable of the prodigal son. This man who journeys away from home, then he returns back home. Today's parable, there's a man who's on the road. We think of the parable of the master returning to his wedding feast, or a thief who's coming in the night, or the man who searches his house, searches the field for that one lost sheep who has gone astray. The theme in Luke is always this man journeying towards a final end, towards a final goal. And what is that goal for Jesus? He knows in the depths of his heart that he is journeying towards Jerusalem to be mocked, to be beaten, to be stripped, to be bruised, to be bloodied, and to be cast on the side of the road, hanging on a cross, left for dead. That is what he knows he is moving towards. And so, who is Jesus? In the parable of the Good Samaritan, he is the man on the side of the road, left for dead. And knowing that, there's really only one other question that matters, and that is, who are we? Because we are always in the parable as well, somewhere. And it could be easy to say, well, we're the Levite, we're the priest, because we see the poor, we see those in need, and sometimes we walk right past. Which is also true, if we're being honest. But if we push the parable a little further, and if we look at the deeper meaning, we are actually closer to the Samaritan. Because who were Samaritans in the first century? They were those who were cast aside. They were rejected, even by the Jews. So much so that even to say the name Samaritan out loud was frowned upon. But these men carried with them this sense of rejection. this sense of not being accepted. And each and every one of us, including myself, we carry some sort of that burden with us down the road, on the journey. These wounds of being rejected. We feel like we're not enough, we're not accepted. And even in spite of that, knowing that he's rejected by society, this Samaritan meets this man and he chooses to enter into his suffering, to take this man's suffering upon himself. And we are told this isn't just like a one-thing decision, okay, I'll give you some water and then I'll be on my way. We are told by Luke that he sacrifices the rest of his day for this man. He gives him some oil, he pours water upon his wounds, he bandages him up, lifts him up off the ground, puts him on his own animal, takes him to the nearest town, tells the man, if you don't have enough resources, I will be back to see this job through to the end. That is what I'm promising you. It can be so difficult to take the suffering of someone we love upon ourselves, especially when we ourselves are carrying so much ourselves. But who is Jesus? Jesus is not just some random man on the side of the road, beaten and bruised. He is the Son of God, the second person of the most holy Trinity. And because he has done this for us, because he has gone before us to Jerusalem to suffer and to die, our suffering has meaning. Suffering is not some sort of black hole that we get sucked into and all the hope gets drained out of us. Suffering is redemptive. And because he is the one on the side of the road hanging on the cross, there is this very real reality within the Christian life that in order to reach the resurrection, in order to be healed, in order to reach the inn and to be healed by the keeper there, we have to pass through Good Friday first. The cross is a reality of our faith that cannot be ignored. To know that the resurrection is there, it's coming, but that suffering is necessary because Christ suffered first. That we are called as Christians, like the Blessed Mother, to hold a God who suffers in our hands, to lift him up onto our animals and to care for him because he cares for us. It's one of the most difficult steps in the Christian life to take, but one of the most necessary. And when we do, when we recognize fully that it is Christ who suffered first, we recognize that by his wounds we become healed.